Hi, guys. Welcome to Parawomen Radio. I'm Amy. Nichol Kessinger made quite the entrance onto the scene during the scorching summer of 2018 as Chris Watts' mistress for a mere 2 months, if you believe that. Chris Watts wasted no time in accepting a plea deal and conveniently claimed he acted alone. Now, the CBI investigators were quick to jump on board with Watts' plea, effectively closing the case and brushing off any potential involvement from Kessinger in that tragic night. Oh, what a missed opportunity that was. What would it have looked like if the prosecution had actually considered Kessinger as a suspect? Tonight, let's all pile onto the Parawoman Radio party time machine. Yes, we've got a party prison bus and a party time machine. It's just that easy. And let's fantasize about the alternate reality where Kessinger was held accountable for her roles in the Watts tragedy on this deep dive episode of Parawoman Radio. Before we begin, I'm going to roll some credits. And while we wait for everyone to arrive, I want to say a quick shout out to my replay team. Hey, friends, it's Friday. You made it through another traditional work week. I'm proud of you. I love you guys. And I'll see everyone on the back end. Hi, guys. Welcome to Parawomen Radio. I'm Amy.
Hi. It's me. I wanted to hear your voice call me back.
Think about me one more time before you go. Someday you'll know. Someday you'll know. Already know what I'm going to say. I've been feeling this way for far too long. And now you're gone. Took me away from all of my fears. Kept me away from all of my tears. Now you're gone. And now I'm lost. Finally, I think I can see clearly now. I'm in love. Think about me one more time before you go. I'm in love. Took me away from all of my.
Okay, how is everyone doing today? You made it, you guys. It's Friday. If you do a traditional work week, it's Friday. Woohoo! I love Friday. It's my most favorite day of the week. And before we get started, I like to do that algorithm dance party. Just start warming up your fingers and start dancing them up to the thumbs up and hearts button. We're coming to you today on YouTube, X, and Twitch. Hi, guys. A special hello to my Dragonfly members. We are now 9 members strong. Just keep clicking the hearts and thumbs up. It's just a free way to help us dance out into the algorithm, party out there, and bring more people back. We're 3,000K strong on YouTube now. I mean, I'm like just shocked about that. Like 3K of you. And I'm just, thank you so much, YouTube, for your love. And it's just a free way to help my channel out. and it's appreciated. So let me go over and see who's here. I see Angel Eyes. Hi, Angel Eyes. I see Kim. Hi, Kim. Hi, Marlo. Hi, J Lord. Um, Welcome back. I'm glad to see you back, J Lord. I'm glad to see all of you back. Hi, GMD. I see you were here earlier. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about Mistress Annika. What would it have looked like if she had been taken to court? What do you guys think? If she had been considered an actual suspect, how do you think that would have looked? She likes us to believe that she was this daring girl who she found out that her boyfriend was actually really married and he was pregnant. His wife was pregnant, and I just told him, just don't talk to me until your family comes home, and I just had to come forward. But we all know that what really happened was Anadarko contacted the police, and they contacted you, NK, to tell you they did that because that's probably the way they have to do it for, HIPAA law and all of that. So she was tipped off that Anadarko had contacted, and this is all my opinion, allegedly. I urge you to do your own research. We will watch things, but not in its entirety. I will start and stop it. I will speed it up, but I will put the link to everything in the description, and so you can go and watch it on your own. And I get wanting to visit things on your own and go a little bit slower sometimes, so you can just do that. But let's look at this one. Let me get my screen. Let me share my screen. Started going without sharing my screen. Okay. And this guy reminds us about NK, and I just wanted to show it to you to start with, to kick off.
Something Nichol Kessinger said does not make a lot of sense. Y'all check this video out.
You tell me what's wrong with this sentence. Quote, the affair was only discovered after Kessinger contacted your affiant, stating that she had information regarding this investigation. Unquote. Did you catch it? Do you remember what we covered earlier in this video? Because on August 15th, 2018, law enforcement was contacted by Anadarko's security manager, Tony Husky, at 5 a.m. to inform them of the relationship between Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger. Now, over the years, I've worked for several major corporations, and typically when your company has notified law enforcement of your casual connection to a major crime, the internal HR, legal department, or some other agent of the company will contact you to tell you what has transpired. Because wouldn't you know it, several hours after Tony Husky contacted law enforcement, Nichol Kessinger would reach out to law enforcement for the very first time. So the affair wasn't at all only discovered when she contacted them. So their entire narrative is based in a foundational misrepresentation of the facts. And there's a very important reason why I'm pointing this out. Because throughout this entire discovery packet, all I see is law enforcement, and especially Agent Kobach, doing virtually everything in their power to ignore the innumerable times that she misled them, objectively lied to them, and then
Every single time ignored it, went the extra mile, treated her with kid gloves. It was just a mess. Let me see what you guys are saying. She needs to be locked up. She was sending nonstop crotch shots. To me, that's why she went into hiding. She knows she lied. She told, and she knows, we all know it, Amber Heard didn't go into hiding because she didn't lie. Correct. And she had no idea that Lacey was pregnant, where I believe 100% that she knew that Shanann was pregnant. Her friend from Anadarko told her the FBI. Oh, was it her friend from Anadarko? Well, somebody, I know for sure she was tipped off somehow. But thank you for telling me that. She lied so much, telling CW to try and make things work with his wife in North Carolina, all the while sending nudes to him. I know, it's just ridiculous.
Then they make excuses for her despite the credible reasons that they had to investigate her as a viable suspect. But there is still something very important that we need to discuss concerning Nichol Kessinger's questionable relationship to this crime and just how much law enforcement knew or should have known that there was a problem. On October 30th, 2018, Detective Michael Prill sent his infamous supplemental narrative that included a detailed report of the forensic data that they had extracted from Chris, Shanann, and Nicole's cell phones. The report was sent to the Weld County District Attorney's Office, and within that forensic analysis of the data was important information that has often been completely overlooked.
I have to say that, I mean, there's so much that has been completely overlooked. So this isn't anything like new or shocking, but because there's just so much overlooked. But I just wish that she had been taken to task.
In the report, he explains that during his review of the data extracted from Chris, Shanann, and Nicole's cell phones, that he learned vital information. Quote, Northern Colorado Forensic Laboratory did not possess the technology needed to perform physical data extractions from Apple devices. The extracted data is not inclusive of all data stored amongst the assorted applications within a given device. Unquote. Allow me to explain how important that statement is to this case. One of the primary defenses that I've heard from the various people who have defended Nichol Kessinger claimed that law enforcement proved that she had no involvement whatsoever in these crimes, that law enforcement obtained evidence that demonstrated that she was not at all involved. But I believe that I can prove that the data they received could not have possibly been able to prove what they claim it did. In Detective Prill's report, he very plainly admits that the forensic laboratory did not have the ability to extract the data they needed, and that even if they had extracted it, it would not include the individual applications on each of their phones. So I took the...
They didn't have the technology to extract the data, but they like just stopped. As soon as Chris said, you know, I'm going to plead guilty to it all, they just stopped. There was no more. And here she is,
killer
inside edition.
His pregnant wife and two cute little daughters is coming forward today. 30-year-old.
This is how she tried to spin it to the public. You know, she went with Inside Edition, and then she did that Denver Post where she did these dark photos, this mysterious photos. She was really trying to do an Amber Fry, but it just didn't work out. She did one interview with the I think it was the only Denver one, and I think she did it two. She did it Inside and a Denver.
Nichol Kessinger is revealing intimate details of her relationship with Chris Watts, a love affair that ended with 3 shocking murders.
No, I'm wrong. Now that I'm thinking about it, she only did the Denver.
I think there's a logical explanation for what he did, she told the Denver Post in an exclusive interview published today. It's a senseless act, and it's horrific. They met at a Colorado oil company where they both worked. Watts told the woman he was in the final stages of a divorce from his wife, Shanann. He did not wear a wedding ring at work, and she thought he was attractive, she told the paper. I believed him. She says she was drawn to him because he was very soft-spoken. He appeared to be a good listener. The pretty brunette bears a resemblance to Watts' slain wife. Nichol Kessinger says she started dating Watts in June, when his wife was on business or visiting.
Do you think it's even possible that she started dating him in June? Do you think it started earlier? I know she started stalking him earlier. I believe that 1 year to the day, like 1 year, that I don't believe that date was a mistake. I think she started looking for Chris way earlier than
According to her parents, they saw each other as many as 5 times a week. Watts even asked her to help him find a bachelor pad for when he got a divorce.
He's the best thing that has ever happened to me.
This is the video that when I was sick in the hospital bed that I heard of Shanann. I didn't know she had passed away, but I heard this speech, and it made me feel like yes, I can get out of bed. My life is not over. There might be hope for love. And as ridiculous as it is that she was dead and all this had happened, I still consider it as her talking to me and helping me get through over a difficult time, just because it happened to her. I think by studying what happened to Shanann, we can better prevent that kind of thing from happening. What do you guys think?
Shanann confided to friends she suspected her husband was having an affair.
It came to her mind that possibly he could be cheating.
Nichol says she was shocked to see Watts on TV appealing for his family's safe return.
I just want them back. I just want them to come back. And if they're not safe right now, that's what's tearing me apart.
I found out he was still married and his wife was 15 weeks pregnant. I thought, if he was able to lie to me and hide something that big, what else was he lying about?
Mm-hmm. And what else are you lying about, NK? So tonight we're going to talk about how it would have been if somebody had interrogated NK properly. And we're also going to look at the tilted lawyer, where he takes her to court. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. Let me pop over into chat and see what you guys are saying. You guys are talking a lot. Yay. I'm so happy when you guys talk to each other. Hi, Scout. How are you? Scout says, greetings and a big hugs from New York. Hi, and happy fabulous Friday, Amy and everyone. Back to you. There's a reason she wasn't, and law enforcement was wrong. It's her dad. Her dad is why. Yeah, I think her dad had a lot to do with whatever went on in the cover up with her. Hey, beauty. Hope you had lovely, light kind of day. Love Manchester. Love watching you, girl. Thank you, Laura. I hope the same for you. Yeah, Daddy Dearest. Daddy Dwayne, as Kelly coined him from What's the Obsession. No, it started earlier. Chris was a grown man of normal intelligence, able to decide for himself if to unalive his children. Yeah. Tammy Lee stated that the clock stopped once he confessed and that they had so much to still investigate. That's true, Monica. That's true. I think Thrive was what I believe was the catalyst. I think the Thrive patches had a lot in his behaviors, because I know when I take there's something in there, guarana seed extract or something like that, and that makes me very agitated. I can't imagine taking as much as he was taking. I think USA women dislike themselves from there being so many USA incels, and when a man harms his wife, they blame a woman. Yeah, that's a very interesting thought, that it's in dislike for themselves that they blame Shanann. I always say, like, when you don't like something from another person, it's usually a piece of you that you don't like. Hi, Mary Beth. Her dad asked if the case stopped when he confessed. Yeah, I remember that. We are all doing well, thank you. I hope all is good with you. It is good with me. I'm kind of like, I get migraines, but they start in my shoulder. And so I'm fighting a migraine in my shoulder. I'm just really trying to make it not come up into my head. And that's why I was kind of MIA for 2 days. But yeah, it's getting better. Just rest and makes it better. And let's not leave Jim alone. He's part of this as well, even though he wants nothing to do with NK now. Yes, leave Jim alone. Okay, so this is from Deception Detective, and we're going to watch part of this.
She was the mistress of Chris Watts, a man who murdered his wife and children and buried them. And there's been a lingering question about what Nichol knew. Did she know of his plans? Did she help him plan the murders? Did she even participate in the murders? At the end of this video, I'll get into my opinion on all that, how to deduce the motivations of a liar. Right? People don't always lie just because they're guilty. But first, we're going to look at techniques she uses to mislead and to hide information. Without further ado, let's look.
And she has quite a few techniques, you guys.
Listen.
Be sure to give this live a thumbs up, guys. And if you like my content, please consider subscribing. It's totally free. And if you decide you don't like me, you just check that button and you can unsubscribe. But I promise you probably will like me if you're here.
May tend to prove that things that Chris told us were a lie. You understand that? And that's maybe going to...
So at this point in the interview, the interviewing officer is asking for her permission to go through her cell phone. So at this point, she's not under arrest. They don't have a warrant to search her phone. They're asking her to continue cooperating and give them access to her phone records to see any texts or any communications she had with Chris.
Going a little bit far, I usually won't tell people that, but because of your reservations, that's what I'm looking for. If I can disprove something he's told me by a phone records don't lie. People do. Okay? So if I can disprove something that may be important, that's what I need it for.
And so her phone record said she pinged close to the house for the first time ever that morning. So who's lying?
I'm not saying I can. Has it happened before? Absolutely. Is it critical in cases that I've worked in the past? Yes. So that's why I want it. Okay. Again, you don't have to give it to me. You can tell me I don't want you to have it. Go get a warrant.
Yes. Yes. Jacqueline says the mere fact that she told the detectives that she was encouraging CW to try to work things out while visiting his family in North Carolina and then sending her her tuna can photos says a lot. It does. It says everything. It says everything, in my opinion.
I'm not even going to tell you if I go get a warrant, try to get a warrant right now. I'm just asking for you to consent. And again, we can write right here what you're willing to give me, which is the text messages and the phone log. And unfortunately, again, the attachments on some of those text messages. And I'll write.
You guys crack me up with some of the things that you say, tuna can photos. That's going to be locked in my brain for a while.
Write it on there, and then you'll just sign it. Okay. Do you understand the questions there? Do you have questions about any of the things that it says? You understand you don't have to do this. You're doing it of your own free will. And I know you're tired, so if you want to let your dad read it too,
He will. Thank you.
that's a good idea.
He will.
Can you fill it out before I sign it?
And just you read it. And if you have any questions, then we'll put on there what we're after.
I'm so hungry.
Should have told me. I would have got you some food. I got food in my car.
It's not staying down. It's just coming.
She always looks down the camera too. That was she just looked right down the camera.
Not because just
like I got sick prior to this whole thing happening, and then I think all of this compounded.
So right when it comes time to ask about the phone records and her signing of her permission to go through them, now we hear that she's sick and she's tired and she's hungry. Maybe all that is true, but the timing seems to suggest this might be a little bit of a manipulation.
But there's also a woman missing, and she's pregnant, and there's 2 daughters with her. I mean, do you think you can get past that you're tired and hungry?
Tactic, right? To delay signing the papers, to make people feel
Chris has some pizza over in his room if you want some of that.
Bad for her, maybe the officer to go easier on her here. Either way, we should note it. This didn't pop up before. It's popping up right before we get into the phone records. So we're 30 minutes into her interview with the police, and now we're starting to get complaints when it's time to sign a paper. Let's note it. Let's
We've got some of the tilted lawyer tonight. We're going to watch a little bit of this, and then we got a little bit of the tilted lawyer.
understand that it may indicate sensitivity about the phone records, but also if I asked you to give me your phone, you'd probably be sensitive about it as well, right? Even if you didn't have anything incriminating. So I can't look too deep into it, but I am pausing to point it out just so you know that I also notice it.
The fact that I'm sick is just not good. I've not really been eating or sleeping much at all.
Yeah, I'm with you. We definitely need to accelerate the case because the more it takes, the less sure that they are of situations. But on the other end, I think if you do just that only,
You tell me what you're willing to provide to me, and we'll
is that
write
good
it.
enough?
I just want like our text conversation and then I guess our phone call records.
So I'm going to put.
So the time and date of the phone call records and then our text message.
Can we get photos of him?
Huh?
Could we get photos of him?
Off of
Would
that?
you mind if we got his photos that he sent to you?
Oh, well, they'll be in that text.
Oh, I've
All
deleted
right, so
them
here it's
all.
interesting. She wants to limit the search to text messages and phone calls. And if you're familiar with this case, she deleted all of that. I think earlier that day or the day before. Right? I'm just getting caught up on this case myself.
She was just so sick of he made her sick. Just sick. So she deleted everything.
Or at least Nichol Kessinger's involvement in the case. Right? I'm familiar with the Chris Watts case in general. So she's trying to restrict
Oh,
it
do
to text
you?
messages and phone calls.
Interesting.
Right? She wants to write that on this consent form. Now, what does that imply? Maybe she communicated with him on other places and she's trying to dissuade them from looking at other.
That would be kind of like answer why the rumor is out there that she was pregnant. Maybe it was Jim's baby she was pregnant with.
Places, like if they communicated through WhatsApp or some other secret texting app that people use when they're cheating on their wives.
They put him in a she introduced him to a calculator. Wasn't she the one that told him about the calculator?
A text message thing.
So all his photos were sent. There was no apps or anything else used
No,
that you
no,
guys
no,
were
no,
sending.
no,
It was
no.
all just text messages.
Yeah,
Okay. So it'd be an attachment to a text that he sent you.
pretty much.
But-
Everything is in the text.
All right, so now we have Nichol saying pretty much. And it looks like the officer is also keying into what I keyed into, where because she's trying to limit it to text messages, right, SMS messages and phone calls, there might be some other app or avenue they were communicating, and he's trying to fish for that information. Were they communicating anywhere
I wonder if they knew about the calculator by now, if the police knew about that calculator.
else? And he says if you send any photos back and forth, it would be as a text message. And Nichol says pretty much. Pretty much is actually a sign of deception, and it's one of the cards in my deception deck. So if you haven't pre-ordered, you can order the deception deck at deceptiondeck.com. It's my 52 favorite rules for spotting lies and manipulation. And here we have weakening modifiers in the grammar suit. So the deck has 4 suits: deceptive words and phrases, deceptive grammar, deceptive cues, and different deceptive concepts.
What a clever idea for merch.
All right, so pretty much is a weakening modifier. And what does that mean? I'll just read you what is on the card. Phrases like kind of, sort of, and seemed like, as well as pretty much, indicate uncertainty. Whether they are used correctly by someone being honest or misleadingly by someone who is lying, any statement following these phrases should not be automatically accepted as true or accurate.
So
when it comes to
a lot of weakening modifiers. Have you noticed that? Let me see what you guys are saying. Seriously, you would be mortified if he had done that to his family. I feel she knew, in fact, involved. She's guilty. I hope he rots in HE double toothpicks. The pair of them. I think she knows more than she is letting on, and I would like to know what she knows. I like sit on the fence. Well, not even on the fence. I think like half the time I'm like 90% sure he did it by himself. But then there's just all this weird stuff about her that makes absolutely no sense at all. Is there any woman at all here who would want their dad to know? No. No. She didn't seem to care, though. Oh, boo-boo, you were sick. My God, a mother and her children are missing. She does not care. No, she doesn't. It's just sickening.
Nichol Kessinger here. The detective asks her, if there were any photos sent between you and Chris, would they be an attachment to a text message? She says pretty much. What does that mean? That she's not committing that those are the only ways they sent photos. So the investigator here should dig deeper into that.
Should.
If it were me, I would say, well, will you give us permission to at least examine any other apps with the capability of sending photos that might be on your phone?
They did a lot of shouldn't on this. Should-us. And isn't that like SHITT on things? ING?
We're on your phone, just to cover that, and then see if she squirms or not. Right, so pretty much that's one of the tricks liars use to mislead, weakening modifiers.
So many missed chances here.
Let's get at least 2 more in this video.
The text and the phone call records,
So,
like all of it.
because we don't have it on tape, we discussed prior to turning the tape on Tuesday, which would have been the 14th of August.
Oh,
You had
good.
read some newspaper articles on the 13th and the 14th that regarded
Glad
this
to
case.
understand.
You had also had a conversation with Chris at some point during the day on Monday. And on Tuesday, because of what you found, specifically what you said was, and don't let me put words in your mouth, but you found out that his wife was pregnant.
So here the investigator appears to be making another mistake in my book, right? I don't know his whole strategy here, so I don't want to judge him too quickly. However, he is putting words into her mouth, and I always...
They all put words into the mouth. I mean, Tammy Lee just basically spoke for Chris. And even when they went up to Dodge Correctional, we just finished watching the interrogation at Dodge, and I mean, really, they just might as well have wrote and spoke it all themselves and not even gone and visited.
Call that out as an interviewing technique mistake, because once you start putting words into someone's mouth, now you've tainted the interrogation. You've put words in their
I'll
mouth,
say it. They sucked,
and I'm not getting access to
in my opinion.
the words they would have picked. So, for example, they had a conversation off the record, which is unfortunate, where they talked about why she deleted all the stuff off of her phone relating to Chris. So off the record, she said that she deleted all her information on her phone regarding Chris Watts because she found out from a news article that his wife was pregnant, and that somehow compelled her to not want to have any contact with him on her phone any longer.
She's missing. She's pregnant. She's got 2 little girls. She finds this all out, and she deletes everything. God, makes no sense.
Could that be true? Maybe. Could it be a lie? Maybe as well. But because it happened off the record
He's trying
and
to
the
be
officer
so
is basically
nice.
saying it for her, we're not going to see her own description of what happened. So I'm just pointing that out as an interviewing mistake to be aware of if you are ever interviewing someone, for example, for a job, or if you're an investigator or a psychologist or a 911 dispatcher. I know I have lots of professionals who deal with deception as subscribers to my channel. Always words such as just, only, simply, and merely often indicate an attempt at minimization. Liars frequently use these terms to downplay incriminating details in context. So when you see the word just, be aware that the person might be trying to downplay something that you should be looking further into. So when she says, well, I just realized he was lying to me, maybe that's not entirely true. Maybe she realized a lot more than what she's admitting here, or she realized it earlier than she's telling us.
I don't think there's no maybe. Like, the maybe shouldn't be there. It's just, it is what it is.
So we need to be attuned to the use of the word just.
What did that cause you to do with your phone, though?
Oh, what? When I deleted those? I was just kind of grossed out by him, to be honest with you.
All right, so I'm going to rewind. So listen to her justify herself here.
He was lying to me, and I was like, well, if you can lie to me about this, what else are you lying to me about? And it made me realize that maybe his wife was in danger at that point, and it was day 2 too, and she still wasn't home.
Looking
What did that
straight
cause you to
into the camera. Maybe his wife was in danger. Looks down the camera.
All right, so she realized the wife was in danger, so she deletes everything. Any potential help she might have been to the police to helping this woman. Does this mean she's guilty? Does it mean she was involved? Does it mean she helped him plan the murders? No.
Does it mean that she just had poor judgment? What do you guys think?
Right. But it is a small inconsistency from what probably the average person might do in that situation.
To do with your phone though.
Oh, what? When I deleted those? I was just kind of grossed out by him, to be honest with you. I was just like, I don't know what's going on right now, but you just lied to me, and I don't want to see this come over my phone anymore. So I removed it.
So you already said, but you removed text messages?
I deleted all of his stuff because he lied to me. I mean, that's what it was. It was the hurt that made me delete it.
I can't say this enough. There was a woman missing, a pregnant.
And then it was the.
So notice how the officer asks her, so you deleted text messages? And she expands that to, I deleted all of his stuff. Stuff could be any other apps they were using to communicate, right? So let's say they were talking to each other on WhatsApp or Signal or Telegram, right? One of these other communication apps
I delete all of his stuff. So it's could include texts, videos, photos, apps, who knows?
That are encrypted, that someone would probably be more likely to use if they were cheating. Right, one that someone can get access to, and one that if this was a work phone, I know that they both worked at the oil company Anadarko.
Yeah, they can.
If their work provided,
they did get some of them back, didn't? Yeah, they got some of them back, but geez, it's just, yeah, she was way too confident. Good point, Peggy. Way too confident. Yeah, and then destroyed the card. Just. Like, what?
Them with the phones, it'd be much more likely they would use an end-to-end encrypted service to communicate. Even if it was just...
Okay, so she's using words, she's destroying things. I guess maybe they're how not to interrogate, right?
Raunchy sexting or are planning a murder. So when the officer asks her, so you deleted all the text messages, she is being true when she says, well, I deleted all of his stuff. But stuff can mean text messages, emails, WhatsApp, right? I deleted WhatsApp off my phone. I nuked my Signal correspondences with him. But she puts it all into stuff. And maybe down the road, if they find out that she did have those apps on her phone, she can now say, hey, I told you I deleted everything. It's not my fault that you assumed I was only referring to text messages. Right, so this is another way liars lie, with vagueness. 99% of the time, if someone's trying to trick you, they will do it by omitting information, by leaving stuff out, not by telling a direct lie, right? So it'd be a lot harder for her to say, yes, I only deleted all of our text messages. Everything else is still on the phone. Right, that would be a lot more.
I'm trying a new thing with Streamlabs, and it's putting things into chat that was kind of dead, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean, you guys can use caps, that doesn't bother me. I'll uncheck that for our next live. I apologize, Peggy, for it saying that to you.
Reliable of a statement, but if she had deleted other apps, it would be a lie by commission. She would be telling us a straight up bold-faced lie. It's a lot easier to say, yeah, I deleted everything that I had to do with them, and then hope that the officer assumes that that only refers to text messages. Right, so if you're interrogating someone about whether or not they communicate with someone on their phone, and they say, well, I deleted everything, I deleted all our stuff, you should ask follow-up questions. Well, was texting the only way you communicated? Or were there other apps you used? And
he has said that repeatedly, and they never asked that question. They're just not going to do it, dude.
So did you delete those apps too, and the conversations on those apps?
The lie that made me start questioning everything else he'd been telling me for the last few days.
And that's when you decided to come forward?
Yes.
Okay. So just for context,
yes.
When people delete stuff off phones, usually we go,
no. It wasn't malicious at all. It wasn't malicious at all. He lied to me. It just hurt. Like, I had never felt like he'd ever lied to me before.
And then another point about this interviewer, when someone does delete evidence, my policy is I always assume the worst. Right, so anywhere I've worked, for example, at a personal injury firm, when we send out discovery
well, even YouTube's like that. When you get a copyright strike, if you delete the video, you don't get to fight it. Like, you're over. It's done. You're done with. So, I mean, deleting stuff is not good. You need, no. Especially if there's a missing woman and their children.
Quest or
okay, so let's move on because I want to be sure to be able to get into the tilted lawyer. What time is it? Okay. So let's move on. I do want to show, before we get into the tilted lawyer, really quick. Scott was talking about it. Will Nichol Kessinger ever be charged? Let's talk about it.
That you all want to know, why has Nichol Kessinger not been charged? Let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Scott Reich of Crime Talk, and thank you for tuning in and liking and subscribing to our channel. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. If you like the video, hit that little like button. And for Chief Gallagher or against him, either way, it's over. The next matter on the docket is a case of judges gone wild. This should also go into the category of you simply cannot make this stage. Regarding the Watts case, what question, as we approach nearly the 1-year anniversary of the deaths of Shanann Watts, Bella, and Celeste, and the unborn child? Overwhelmingly, the greatest question was, why has Nichol Kessinger not been charged? I am here to answer that question. We have all of the interviews that have been conducted by the police with Ms. Kessinger. We've also talked about the interview that she did with the local Channel 7 news channel here. She denies knowing anything that took place related to Shanann and the kids. Bottom line, short of Nichol Kessinger admitting that she helped plan or knew what was going to take place and then helped try to cover it up for Christopher Watts, it is unlikely and impossible that she will be charged. Let's talk about what the prosecutor would have to prove, and you can decide whether they think there's enough evidence. So in all criminal cases, the person that is charged with actually doing the act is referred to as the principal. The principle of first-degree murder is that they would have to prove that the defendant, the person charged, not someone to look like them, not someone using their identity, but that particular defendant, knowingly took the life of another person without legal justification after deliberation. There's no evidence that Nichol Kessinger did any of that. Absolutely nothing. An alternative theory for prosecution for Nichol Kessinger would be that she was a complicitor. A complicitor is someone that aids, encourages, or embeds somebody in the commission of an offense. Frankly, there is not any evidence that I have seen, whether it be through interviews or other evidence, that would suggest that she did that. Now let's talk about the legal definition of complicity that a district attorney would have to prove and a jury would have to decide if this took place. So we're looking at the Colorado criminal jury instructions. We'll read it verbatim. Complicity is not a separate crime. Rather, it is a legal theory by which the defendant may be found guilty of a crime that was committed by another person. For a defendant to be guilty as a complicitor of the crime of first-degree murder, as defined at the end of this instruction, the prosecution must prove each of the following conditions beyond a reasonable doubt. Another person committed the crime of first-degree murder, as defined at the end of this instruction, and the defendant, with the desire or the purpose or design to aid, abet, advise, or encourage the other person in planning or committing that crime. The defendant was aware of all the elements of that crime as defined at the end of this instruction. Or the alternative would be the defendant was aware of the elements numbers identifying the appropriate elements, examples 1, 2, and 4, of the crime as defined at the end of this instruction. And the defendant's conduct was not legally authorized by the affirmative defense in instruction blank. For the purpose of this instruction, another person committed the crime of first-degree murder if the prosecution proves each of the following elements beyond a reasonable doubt. That the other person in the state of Colorado at or about the date and place charged, and then we would insert the elements of first-degree murder, and then it says, after considering all the evidence, if you decide the prosecution has proven each of the conditions of complicity liability beyond a reasonable doubt, you should find the defendant guilty of first-degree murder. After considering all the evidence, if you decide the prosecution has failed to prove one or more of the conditions of complicity liability beyond a reasonable doubt, you should find the defendant not guilty. So what does complicity really mean? What does aid, abet, advise, or encourage another person to commit a crime? Exactly what it means. That person has to actually say, you should go do something. You should go do murder. You should go commit bank robbery. You should go commit any crime. Let me tell you how to do it. Let me tell you where to go. Let me tell you how to get away with it. That would be a complicitor. There's been nothing other than speculation to say that Nichol Kessinger encouraged Christopher Watts to kill his wife and children. Perhaps there were conversations that said, boy, it would be a lot easier if your wife wasn't here. It gets so complicated with the kids. Wow. That is not complicity. That is thinking out. Out loud. That is simply talking about what would happen in a perfect world. It is not telling somebody to go commit a crime. Okay. Now, the other possible theory of prosecution that one would possibly consider in a case like this.
How many of you think that Nichol was complicit in it? Put a 1 if you think Nichol helped. Junie, you're going to go to bed. Put a number 2 if you think that Chris did it himself.
Against Nichol Kessinger. But once again, I don't believe that it is there. And that would be an accessory to a crime. And once again, so we're not taken out of context. Let's read straight from the jury instruction that would be required for an accessory. The elements of the crime of accessory to a crime are that the defendant in the state of Colorado at or about the date and place charged with intent to hinder, delay, or prevent the discovery, detection, apprehension, prosecution, conviction, or punishment of another for the commission of a crime, rendered assistance to the other person. And then if there's an affirmative defense and the defendant's conduct was not legally authorized by the affirmative defense. And once again, after considering all the evidence, if you decide the prosecution has proven each and every element, you should find the defendant guilty. And the last paragraph is, if you decide the prosecution has failed to prove each and every element of the offense, you should find the defendant not guilty of accessory to crime. The reason why Ms. Kessinger could not be charged with this is that she didn't do anything with the intent to hinder, delay, or prevent the discovery, detection, apprehension, prosecution, conviction, or punishment of another person. For that to take place...
Does deleting things from your phone, that I guess that doesn't count? Let's move on. Let's get into the tilted lawyer and the legal chessboard. He is talking about hypothetically if she was taken to trial. Be sure to give this live a thumbs up. You become a dragonfly by just hitting members, and that's how you become a dragonfly. You guys, my dragonflies are my members, and if you would like to become a dragonfly, it's $2.99. If you can't afford the $2.99, just email me and we'll try to find a way to get you in the back way. Sometimes members will donate memberships, and also I can offer you maybe some research opportunities, and you just can become a member that way. I don't want anyone to feel like they can't be a part of the membership if they can't afford it, because they know what that feels like, and I don't want anyone to feel that way.
That just looks like her hair is down.
But at the same time, the light.
Well, this light is really annoying.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
some sort of reflection in there.
Yeah.
But it could be a ponytail too, because if she has a lot of hair and she has a high ponytail, I can kind of see it. Yeah. I can kind of see it too.
I don't think from this angle that this is a boot.
No, and to me, this is going to be a very legally blunt moment. To me, those shoes, they look like Vans, like those.
Sorry, I'm in the wrong
canines
spot.
for search efforts regarding the disappearance of Shanann Watts and her 2 children. After being briefed on the situation, I, along with Officer Prez and these other officers and rescue dogs, I responded to the home of the missing individuals, but this is what I needed to say. Upon entry to the home, I immediately noticed a strong odor of cleaning chemicals. The home appeared spotless, and the carpet had noticeable vacuum lines. As we walked to the kitchen living room area, I observed that the television was on a sports show. While standing by the back slider door, Deputy Cash inquired about the little girl's shoes on the back porch. Chris said that the girls wore them to a pool party and blah, blah, blah. The important part is there was obvious cleanup, either Chris or Shanann or both. So we have to establish how this all went down. We got to bring in the evidence. Here's Shanann. She's on the footage. She's coming in. At some point, she was dispatched with and then they were taken out. We got their surveillance of when at least Christopher Watts' truck is leaving the location. They found the bodies where, at the Anadarko tank facilities.
Do you think in that very blurred footage, how Chris is walking back and forth from the garage to the truck, do you think one of those walks was NK? How they show the really long hair? Or it's maybe really long hair?
And it appears that somebody tried to clean up and hide the evidence. That would be the implication. Now, she didn't say hide the evidence, and she's not going to say that on the stand. We have to, or both. So we have to establish how this all went down. We got to bring in the evidence. Here's Shanann. She's on the footage. She's coming in. At some point, she was dispatched with, and then they were taken out. We got their surveillance of when at least Christopher Watts' truck is leaving the location. They found the bodies where, at the Anadarko tank facilities. And it appears that somebody tried to clean up and hide the evidence. That would be the implication. Now, she didn't say hide the evidence, and she's not going to say that on the stand. We have to connect the dots with the jury. And so, among other things, she's going to talk about stuff about Chris's facial expressions rarely changing. He seemed to smile or smirk inappropriately, displaying a lack of empathy. Chris lacked eye contact and appeared to be nervous. He was escorted through the entire house. He showed us each room, including the laundry room, where he dug through dirty laundry and again mentioned that he was doing his kids' laundry. When they brought in the K9 units, it's important to note that they needed a test piece of clothing for them, and it couldn't have been contaminated with other scents. And so they wanted something that was fresh that he hadn't touched recently. And the story out of his mouth was, "Oh, I've touched everything." And so I don't know.
He's touched everything and he laundered everything.
What you're going to get out of that. So you could form your own conclusions with that. But again, it's easy to convict Chris. We have to tie this to Nichol. And so you could imagine why this takes so long, because we're inundated with thousands. Look, there's 2,000 pages of discovery, but 2,000 pages of discovery usually generates 5 times that amount in a supplemental discovery from subpoenas and other things that we're looking into. This is just really the basic ABCs of it, and everything else is generated by the attorneys in our subsequent investigations. And so you can see why this takes so long. We have to make heads or tails of what is relevant, what isn't, what's going to affect our purposes. And we have to keep in mind our goal. We have to improve.
Elliot says there's no bruises or cuts on Shanann. There was blood on the sheet she was wrapped in when dumped in the grave. She must have spontaneous. Yes, I think that's what it was. Yes, and he said that she didn't, but I believe she did.
To prove conspiracy to commit murder. Right now, we don't have anything tied to Nichol so far. Let's talk about the surveillance footage, and Dominic is going to have this on the screen so you guys can see as I'm scrolling through this. So the neighbor's surveillance camera, the infamous neighbor, we have to bring him in to testify. We have to establish a couple of things. If he was familiar with the people coming and going from the Watts home, if he'd ever seen a similar woman, as we will see on the surveillance footage, going in and out, could he identify that definitively as Shanann? Does that look like Shanann to him? And I don't know the answer to this question. He might say yes or no. But we have to bring him in anyway, because he has to lay the foundational evidence that nobody tampered with the surveillance, right? It was the surveillance was triggered by motion. When there was motion, they were kicked on, and this is what it recorded. I didn't mess with it in any kind of ways. Matter of fact, the same day I turned everything over to the police. Foundation is laid, and now it could come in as evidence. And so let's take a look at that evidence, though. All right. So this is another YouTube. I'll link in the comments, or Dominic will link in the comments, this video. It's by Miss Jade. She posted this like 5 years ago when all of this was still fresh. It's like a 9-minute clip. But the very beginning of this surveillance, you could see the outline of a woman. The question is, who is she? And as this progresses a little bit further, you can see her. Now, this camera, it's pointed at the garage, right? So right here, this light is like the garage light. Here, let me turn my monitor so you can see it. This is the garage. This is the driveway, and this is where you would see the truck kind of back into the driveway, and you saw it kind of just disappear, the entrance, and the theory being, well, he did that so nobody would catch him loading the bodies. There's an alternate theory that is out there that we have to somehow make heads or tails of, in that it's possible that they transported the body out of the back with Nichol Kessinger's help, perhaps in another vehicle. And the reason why is because there is some suggestion that there were fibers of sheets, beddings, consistent with the bedding in the Watts bed, that were found like fence posts. And things of that, as if somebody dragged something over that was on a sheet and then it caught on the fence or whatever. Now, I don't have anything corroborating that.
Where is that information coming from, you guys? I've never heard that there was evidence of sheets being over the fence post. Has anyone heard that before? That's news to me.
don't even remember if that's in the actual discovery as being an item that was recovered, but there is that alternate theory in there. And why that's important is because it would support why Nichol Kessinger, her vehicle was not seen in any of this. You know, they took great measures to not get her captured on any of that, which I don't know, because she's obviously very clearly on this. I don't even know what time this surveillance footage is. I'd imagine, though, that this was before Christopher Watts had loaded the vehicles into the truck. I know that her cell phone pinged at 6:16 a.m. The sun was up at that point. Obviously, it's very dark. So I'm assuming that this is somewhere between midnight and 4 a.m. But very clearly, here's a female figure, a silhouette of a female, and she's walking out of the garage. Look at it. And it's slowed down here, but this, let's just pause. This purse looks an awful lot like the purse that she had with her during the questioning at the interrogator's office.
Okay.
This very exact, the same color, the same shape, whatever. This, to me, is very clearly female hair. I know it's very grainy. And then it just kind of, you know, and that's it. That's kind of the extent of it. And then they replay this video a couple of times, but you can see even better right there. Here's the outline of the face. This is very clearly long hair to me. This is clearly the profile of a woman. Purse, legs, that looks like boots. Does that look like boots to you?
I feel like that does look like a woman, but I mean, Chris was getting like a woman's shape, kind of. Like, did you see like how thin his waist was getting? I don't know. I just don't know. I hate that I don't know.
Like right here.
Yes.
I can see it. Maybe it's a boot, maybe it isn't. I don't know.
But
But
at the same time, it makes
Let me
sense to put the
see
ankle down.
what you guys are saying about the fibers. Kim says, no, I heard there were fibers on the fence they thought could have been from sheets. I didn't know that. NK's vehicle was parked behind the Watts house as well. They did say like they saw that vehicle afterwards, didn't they? Like casing the area. The police body cams show the white bits of material held on the chicken wire, which was in the wooden fence. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to go back and look because I feel like there's always something new that I learn in this case, and it makes me excited when I hear something new.
I'll tell you who it's not. Does that look like Christopher Watts?
No.
Clearly not, right?
No.
Also, he's wearing like a light tan color shirt or something. Does that look like Shanann? And recall, Shanann was on the ring camera very prominently with a very pregnant looking belly. This lady does not appear to be pregnant. And look at it again in slow motion. Here's her walking out.
He's not
Doesn't look
showing it, but do you know it's when that one moment where the person walks out and it kind of looks like it's a woman? Do you know what I'm talking? Do you probably have all seen it? I'm guessing what he's talking about.
Like a belly doesn't. I mean, she just looks like. This. I mean, it's difficult for me to know. It's difficult for me to know what their size profile would be. So one of the things that we would have to do is we have to go to a visit, an investigative visit. The attorneys, you and me, we're on the same team, and we have to make friends with the neighbor and try to get a reference guide for how tall this person is with respect to this camera angle. Like, for example, you're about 5'5", 5'6". I would put you there. Oh, 5'3" then.
Ah, yes, I found one. I found it. Here. Who is she? This is what they're talking about.
So this is a video that I have told.
Why can't I? This is really quiet.
I'm just going to go back again and I want to pause it. Show you exactly where.
Right there. That does kind of look like a woman to me. The walk is very womanly. Don't you think?
Her hair is slicked back into a ponytail.
I'll just pop it back again.
I'm just going to go back again and I want to pause it.
I can't hear whoever's talking on this, but there. Kind of has a woman's butt too. But I'm saying I think Chris was looking pretty womanly. His shape was getting pretty feminine to me. And maybe he was wanting it like that. I don't know. But let's go back over to the tilted lawyer.
I was being generous.
Thank you.
Yeah. and just see if my 5'3" might stop like
Yes.
right there.
Mhm.
I think that
That's it.
Kessinger's
They
about
have different
5'6".
Yeah,
gait.
she looked tall.
Yeah, and 5'6", 5'7" maybe at best.
Thank you, Kim.
But yeah, and just get a comparison so the jury can understand that, hey, that's really closely. Again, this is not perfect evidence. She's not going to turn around and wave at the camera, get a view of her face. This is all we got. We got to
I
take this
have
image and somehow
heard
convince that
that.
there's no way that
I
person was.
have heard that she was ambushed the minute she walked in the door. I'm going to slow this down a little bit because it is 1.5 is too fast.
Anybody other than Nichol Kessinger.
Mhm.
And we can even ask the neighbor. So how often, if your camera is always clicking on upon motion, how common was it for people to go in and out of that garage
Yes,
after
that
midnight, for
infamous
example?
purse
We
pegging.
may or may not get anywhere with that question. It might be possible that, well, it was all the time because Shanann was, I mean, I don't know the answer to that question.
It happens at my house. There's a cat that crosses almost every night around 3 a.m. And it shows up in the camera almost every night.
Yeah, but that would be a cat.
Yeah.
But clearly not a
No,
person.
of course, but
Yeah.
like comparing that, I don't think it's very common for somebody to be going in and out at that time. If it happened like in the morning, early morning hours, unless like they're coming back from work because they have a late shift or something like that.
Now, mind you, we are connecting this to the dot of the cell phone ping.
Yes.
And the explanation is going to be, look, 6:16 ping, why didn't it ping at 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock a.m. if that was her? Because she turned off her phone, dumbass. And I don't remember in the discovery whether or not there was definitive evidence of that or not. I feel like I'm remembering it wrong. But just off the top of my head, I feel like there was evidence that demonstrated while her phone was always on, in this 6-hour window, it was off. And then she screwed up. She turned it on at 6:16, or maybe it kicked on accident. And therefore, cell phone ping. And she knows she screwed up, and then, the rest of the day unfolded. But yeah, this is the surveillance. I don't know, Dominic, does that look like Nichol to you? No, it's definitely a female, right? At the very least, it's not Chris. And then
Side, and you can see the sideburn little.
There's the photo again of NK. Do you guys think it's NK?
Wondering what is.
Put a 1 if you think that's NK. Put a 2 if it was just Chris.
when the first officer gets there, he has it on his dash cam. You can kind of see inside of the house. And somebody thought they saw like a lady on top of the stairs. But that's never been, I want to say it's been debunked, but there's some people out there that are still believing that. I don't think that that's viable evidence. It's not something that I would bring in. It's just what Chris Watts was wearing that day. That's the inside of the house. And I'm not sure what else she's trying to say. But the main point of this video is, who is she? So we have to get this in evidence somehow. The only way we're getting it in is by bringing in the neighbor and comparing and contrasting. She claims here that this is a ponytail. I don't see a ponytail. That just looks like her hair is down.
But at the same time, the light.
Well, this light is really annoying.
Yeah.
But at the same
there's
time,
some sort of reflection in there.
yeah.
But it could be a ponytail too, because if she has a lot of hair and she has a high ponytail, I can kind of see it. Yeah. I can kind of see it too.
I don't think from this angle that this is a boot.
No, and to me, this is going to be a very legally blonde moment. To me, those shoes, they look like Vans, like those kind of like flat.
They look like heels?
Slip-on tennis shoes. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't remember ever seeing her shoes, like what shoes she wore. What type of shoe person was she?
Nicole's style, but that's what it looks to me.
Well, Nicole, I mean, I don't know what her style is. I've seen the pictures of her, but to me, that is the profile of something that resembles her.
I want to Google her, like how does she usually dress and
here's what we gotta establish. At what time did Shanann get there? I think it was like at 2:30 in the morning or something.
Yes.
So then at what time was this lady there? Because if she's there before 2:30 in the morning,
she's waiting.
Then it's not Shanann. And if she's there after, then it's either Shanann or Nicole or mystery woman. Who is she is the big question. Not the best evidence, but compelling nonetheless.
I'm sure she came in through the back door, so there was no video of her if she was there.
There's another surveillance footage out there that appears to be young children running. I'm not going to get into those just because we don't have the time. But let's continue in our preparation of how we're marshaling this evidence.
It was proven. He did say that Bella ran outside and he picked her up and put her in the truck, and that was proven.
Get in. All right, right off of the bat, the cell phone searches, the one from 2017.
So he started doing what Scott was talking about. He's trying to establish NK.
Yes. I don't think is all that particularly important. In other words, when I say not important, it's not going to be the highlight of my case. My case in chief as a prosecutor. It's interesting that there was a search on there. There was insinuation that that might have been a typo in the discovery, but law enforcement has come out and emphatically said, no, it wasn't a typo. That's what we got off her phone. I don't have a good explanation for why that search exists. It doesn't make any sense from what we know from Anadarko, the employer, from Nichol, from Chris. So the 2017, although interesting, is not remarkable. I wouldn't waste a whole lot of time.
Something was going on in the basement. Something went on in the basement.
At the time, remind me again, they were working for the same company but different locations?
They were, I want to say that Chris was working there for a short time and then she came in afterwards. But the story is they didn't begin their relationship until about June of 2018. So 2017, there wouldn't have been a good reason for that unless it was a mistake or, why was she searching this person? Was there an innocent reason? I don't know. I just had an example of a whole client that I had represented back in 2019 last week that I didn't remember that I did that. And if you were to ask me if I knew this person, I would tell you 100% I don't know who this is. I've never met this person in my life. I've never represented them. And yet there was a whole court appearance and I was there. Not only did I meet her.
To remember, everybody thinks that they remember things exactly, and it's just not true. Like our memories, even if we remember something 100%, we think we remember it, we probably got some things wrong. Like somebody's going to remember it slightly different.
But I represented her.
So if you say one thing one time and you're off about it the second time with just a few words or something like that, I don't think that's a big deal because I think that's a common thing for people.
So we're in court and it blew my mind that I had forgotten about that. And so it's plausible that there's an innocent reason for it.
Coincidence, yeah.
Yeah. So her talking about encouragement to salvage the murders, to salvage the marriage, I think is important. We got to make points of that. We have to introduce the Facebook activity, the activity on her phone.
Definitely.
I want to subpoena all of her PC
I wonder
records,
if
all
he
the
were
PC
to
records,
do
all of her
that,
PC.
if he would do something about, like, remember when Shanann was cooking for Thanksgiving and somebody was doing mean, ugly faces and she had the flowers in the background just for funsies. Chris got her just for funsies.
Records. I want to subpoena all of her cell phone records. I want to show the jury how stalkerish she was of the Watts family as a whole.
How obsessed.
And why it is ludicrous to suggest that she didn't know the depth of Chris's marriage to
100%. Like she didn't know, she wasn't sitting on Facebook watching Shanann, I'm sure. I've got a bridge to sell you in the middle of the United States that has waterfront or oceanfront property.
Shanann. Preposterous.
And the pregnancy.
Why is she lying about that? Now, on the strength, here's the thing. On the strength of these lies, that does not get us to murder.
No.
We're still so far from that. But what it does is all of these little moments that we're catching her in a lie.
Who is this woman that he talks to? Is this his co-host or is she always here? And is she a lawyer as well?
It's putting dents in her credibility. We want to get it to the point where she is so non-credible that when somebody hears her say something, they're already conditioned to look for the lie. All right, so that's what she said. So tell me what the answer was. That's the point of introducing this credibility evidence. It's relevant upon objection from the defense because it goes to credibility, and credibility is always relevant at any level of law. So that's definitely coming in, but we're subpoenaing Facebook records, PC records, whatever electronic records are out there. We want to get that. I'm shaking your mic. I apologize. We have to talk about the Oxycontin thing.
Yes.
Okay. Here's why.
Oh, yes.
Here's why.
Because we're going to cover the Oxycontin thing, and then we're going to have to do a part 2 because he has quite a few of these legal chessboard. There's like 4 videos, and we're not going to be able to watch them all, obviously, but I do want to watch some of them, and we'll go over the Oxycontin, and then I'm going to close off the night. I have something to close off with. I want to talk about that same guy, and I want to look at her mug shots really quick before we end up the night.
Knowledge of family is important because There were cell phone records and transcripts of communications between a pharmacist, Christopher Watts, and Nichol Kessinger. And the tenor of those conversations was, how much oxy can I give somebody to induce a miscarriage? How much is safe to take? How much will induce a miscarriage? How much is harmful? Whatever. They had
she's
those
his mom?
conversations. And then there was evidence or suggestions that Shanann got really sick on a
I
trip
guess,
to North
you know,
Carolina
they do look
shortly after these
alike.
conversations took
Now that
place.
I almost said that they almost look alike, but yeah, I almost said they have the same nose, which they do.
We have in Christopher Watts' confession that I'll never tell you where I got the Oxycontin, I'll take that in my grave. He so cavalierly says that, so chivalrously in defense of Nichol Kessinger. The FBI already knew that those conversations had, so they didn't need him to say that. They didn't press him on that. But we know that that was a thing.
I
Conspiracy.
have said repeatedly that I believe that he got the Oxycontin from Amanda. Remember the Amanda who he had I think it was Chick-fil-A. They had the little thing. And I know someone who worked with her and she had a severe opiate issue. So, but that's just my opinion.
So here we are. Even that does not go to proving conspiracy for murder. It's conspiracy to cause miscarriage. That's not the charge, because indeed Shanann did not die from that interaction, but at least puts her in the arena of being capable of planning such nefarious things as murder. What is the motive? And there's all kinds of speculation that I've heard so many of our commenters talking about. She didn't want to be second place. She wanted to give Chris her first son. There's financial gain. The Colorado family laws are different than in California. It is not a community property state. The way that they divide the house is based off of
See you
equity,
soon.
similar to how you would do it
Lord.
in a Marvin case, Lee Marvin, a palimony case, right? Well, you're not married, so I'm not giving you half, but there's equity because you got.
See, I want to see what the theory is. Jacqueline says theory. They may have met this year before. Oh, yes, at a gym. Yes, I think that if they met earlier than June or July or whatever, I think they met at the gym when his parents lived there in the basement and he needed some place to work out. So yes, I think you're right on that.
Guys are pulling your assets, and so I'll give you half anyway, as if it was community property. So they just do it a little bit different. It's sort of like what you put in is what you get out of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if it's based on equity, I could see, even though that's the case, it's still going mostly just split the house because it's what's fair. Pulling your assets together, somebody's paying the bills. You guys are both contributing to the community equally, and they were making similar money at one point. At the very end, they were. So, but the financial motivation, and maybe he doesn't understand that, or maybe he's thinking that she's going to get the entire house.
Well, I'm sure she probably told him that, she said that Colorado was a 50-50 state. So
want her to do that. Furthermore, maybe he doesn't want to pay child support.
Maybe you think maybe he didn't want to pay child support. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
Third of all, maybe Nichol, envisioning a future with Christopher Watts, doesn't want to be burdened with Chris paying child support, because that's money that could be going to the contribution of their new family. So motive obviously for Chris, but motive for Kessinger, it closely aligns with it. I'm still not quite sure that we're there, because it's still kind of, what we know is we're fairly certain that she had a role in the plan to induce a miscarriage. And we're going to subpoena all that evidence and get that in. And hopefully the evidence speaks to what we think it's going to say. It's
okay. Do you guys think that NK had a role in the miscarriage? Like, do you think it was just maybe the miscarriage that she had a role in, and then she was like, I'm out of this? When it started, fell forward. When it started going too far, she was just like, I'm going to delete all this. And if you say any word about me, I'm going to tell your parents that you like gay sex or something. I really think she has something over him regarding gay sex. I think he would rather die than let his parents believe that he did that.
It's always possible when we're confronted with everything that our opinions could change.
Oh, yeah.
And that happens all the time. So we will see. But we also have to tie that in. Okay, so the miscarriage didn't work. So now the new motive is, we could just get rid of her, And we don't have any direct evidence.
Isn't that terrifying to think that if Shanann had just miscarried, they might all be alive. It's terrifying to me because they could all, this didn't have to happen at all. So let's go into this. This is NK's 2006 mugshot. I think this was another thing that her daddy Dwayne took care of for her.
Was arrested back in 2006. Watch this video.
Since I began my research on the Watts case, I was able to conduct my own independent investigation into Nichol Kessinger, and what I found in the publicly available court records revealed that she was arrested on December 9th, 2006. You will notice that the arrest was for underage possession and consumption of alcohol, certainly not the crime of the century. But what I thought was incredibly odd was that this was her second offense. And at the time, she was only 19 years old. But somehow, even though she had already received her second charge for underage drinking, her case was completely dismissed. Now,
How does somebody under the age of 21 get 2 underage charges and it's dismissed?
been in contact with an anonymous source who provided additional information that I was able to use to locate this record. You'll probably notice that the spelling of Nichol is entirely different, but the date of birth and the middle name are the same. Furthermore, this is an adjacent county, but you can see in the charges that Nichol is spelled with an O-L-E.
She likes to play with her name spelling.
But this time she was charged with driving without a license and another alcohol-related offense. And again, this is the second charge in just that county at the age of 19 years old. And wouldn't you know it, this case just goes away.
Yet another break NK gets. How many breaks does one person get in one lifetime?
Away too, with no mention of probation or jail time. And no matter how you read this, somehow Nichol Kessinger appears to commit several crimes and then walks away from it without any repercussions whatsoever. You know, I can't put my finger on it, but that kind of sounds familiar. Huh. But I suppose it's starting to make a lot more sense why her father was present for her first 2 interviews. Because it
a lot of sense. I mean, it just makes so much sense.
would seem that he had already been through this a time or 2 or 12. But do you know what I find to be
So
very...
he heard it. He knew what she was up to. He knew what sexual position she liked. He'd heard it.
very disturbing about all of this information is that little more than a decade after these crimes, she would go on to become the mistress of a prolific family killer, a woman who seems to have a history of using multiple names and aliases, who is somehow able to get arrested multiple times and walk free every time of any responsibility.
And in the biggest one, not even considered a suspect. And she was the mistress. Ugh.
Or even probation. And what's even more hard for me to wrap my mind around is that law enforcement on August 15th, 2018 requested her criminal background, which means they had every reason to approach.
I was just about to say, didn't this happen? Oops. Didn't this happen? NK put a knife somewhere in a neighbor in the back with a kitchen knife and no charges by the courts for this. That amazes me. I may be stretching it, but I find it very strange that Cindy never mentioned the grandkids, gave them both food they are allergic to, and didn't go to the funeral. Yeah, it's. I think they asked them not to go to the funeral, didn't they? I don't know if that for sure, but I think they did.
Approach their star witness with a certain level of caution. They had an obligation to ensure that they were going out of their way to verify her statements. Because if they had this information, did it not occur to anyone that someone with a history of criminal conduct might possibly have something to hide? Because Nichole's past criminal history was going to come up through the inevitable background check.
I mean, I think it has to be considered, even though they were just, misdemeanors. I think it needs to be considered.
That any good defense lawyer would have conducted prior to a jury trial, which is why the next few things you're about to learn is nothing less than shocking. During my investigation, I received credible information concerning Nichole's prior history. But I do want to be very clear. These are allegations that cannot be verified absent of the primary parties coming forward. And this is due to the fact that they allegedly occurred while Nichol was still a minor. But the allegations involve Nichol allegedly committing a violent crime with a knife when she was only 16
Here it
years
is.
old. A crime that
Ooh, she was only 16. Wow.
once again she was allegedly arrested for.
I mean, that's something, somebody who's able to stab another person. I mean, that should be considered right there.
But was again dismissed. Unfortunately, because she was a minor at the time, that means that the court records would be sealed. But the information that I received from this source had firsthand knowledge of the event. And while I cannot definitively confirm this information with court records, I was, however, able to find this public statement concerning the alleged encounter. And it's because of my knowledge of her criminal history that I found Detective Michael Prill's report especially intriguing, because it was the very first time any law enforcement agent associated with the Chris Watts investigation had written such unfavorable details that directly implicated Nichol Kessinger. Detective Prill's report exposed Nichol for having profusely lied to law enforcement. It revealed her damning Google searches, her clear obsession with Chris, her repeated and ongoing rendezvous with him, and a multitude of information that completely contradicted her entire narrative that she had been telling since day one.
And on part 2, we're going to go over that. We're going to finish doing the tilted lawyer, that one video that we were watching, and we're going to continue to build the case against Nichol Kessinger. Let me see what you guys are saying. McSee is awesome. I watched a reel that used the spirit box. The gentleman connected with Shan. I've seen a few of those. Yeah. You have to remember that county can take whatever they want down off their. Yep, they can. She also didn't go to the wedding. No, she didn't. Yes, Kim. However, there's no hit. Oh, okay. I don't know what that. You're having conversations, which I love. So you guys, that's what we're going to do on part 2. Hello, Karen, new member, Karen Merchant. She says the connection stated NK was waiting for her to get home in the house. Oops, sorry. The connection stated NK was waiting for her to get home in the house along with Chris. I've heard that quite a bit. What picture is what? I've heard people say tonight that they saw some picture of her standing on the stairs. Could someone somehow link me to that, like after the show? Just put it down in the comments so I could look at it, because I want to try to maybe include it in the next live that we do, because I would like to see that video or picture that everyone's talking about. And welcome to the Dragonflies, Karen. We're so happy to have you. The Dragonflies are the members. Our membership are the Dragonflies. I see Dragonflies all over the place, and one even landed on me the other day, and it reminded me of you and all the support, and I was like, they're my Dragonflies. So our members are called Dragonflies, and now we're 10 Dragonflies strong. If you include me, 11 Dragonflies strong, and I do include me. So yeah, we're growing. We have a live every Monday with the Dragonflies at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I release all the videos early to the Dragonflies. I have some videos already released to the Dragonflies, and I like to credit you in the opening and closing credits. So, and I'm also getting the emojis, dragonfly emojis together for like 1 month, 2 month, 3 month. And I'm going to have some dragonfly things that people can use to post in the chat. So I've got some exciting things planned for you guys. If you guys think of anything that you would like me to do that's unique or different, I would be very happy to do that for you. And this Monday, we're going to have our second live chat. I haven't decided what we're going to talk about. If you have any suggestions, let me know, and I'll get something together for you guys. What is Sherry K? Hi, Sherry K, by the way. Nichol Kessinger stalked Shanann's Facebook. Yes, regular. Yes, she did. So she definitely knew that Chris was married and that Shanann was pregnant. It pissed her off that she knew she was the other woman. It sure did. And she was the other woman. That's what she was. That's what she was, you guys. So, you guys, I'm going to get ready to go. This is all I have for tonight. Let me make sure I showed everything, though, just really quick. Yes, I did. Okay, you guys, we're going to continue building the case against NK, and eventually we're going to take her to court. If memberships, please remember me on Put Online. I would love to be a dragonfly. You guys, and make sure that you have it where you can accept gifts. So if anybody wants to gift you a membership, make sure that you have it checked so that when they're gifted, that it just is automatic and it will go right to your membership, right to your account, and you will become a membership. So when you come in, just make sure that is checked. And also, if you want to be a member and you can't afford the $2.99 a month, you can email me at parawomanradio@gmail.com. And we will work something out. I will get you in the back way, or I will find a member that is willing to donate to you. I don't want anyone to feel left out. Okay, you just click the membership in the, I think it's like the 3 buttons, the little 3 lines, and in there's the membership. I would love to have as many of you as dragonflies as you would love to be. The more the merrier. You guys, I'm going to take off. Yes. Oh, yeah, I think that's it's so funny that most of us agree that they met at the gym, I think. Okay, guys, so that's what I have planned for the next one. If nobody's told you this today, I'm telling you this. We're 3,000K strong. I am so grateful for you guys. You guys have really changed my life. And if nobody's told you this today, and I hope I'm able to change your life. If nobody's told you this today, I'm telling you this. I love you guys so, so much. And I'll see you next time. Bye, guys. Hi, guys. Welcome to Para Women Radio. I'm Amy.
It's me. I wanted to hear your voice. Call me back.
Goodbye one more time before you go. Someday you'll know. Someday you'll know. Already know what I'm going to say. I've been feeling this way for far too long.